I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The prayer this morning will be offered by the good delegate representing Prince George's County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. I would like to share an ancient text that is used often in wedding ceremonies and end with a little blessing that everyone here might remember. First, the ancient text. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. May we have a day of great love and joy. I want to share also basically the immortal words of the late, great, beloved Comptroller of Maryland, probably the most popular tax collector in human history, Louis Goldstein, who always said, God bless you all real good. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 members present, the House is now in session. The clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 13th, 2025.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered. Petitions, memorials, and other papers. Consent calendar of introductory House bills number 49. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1501, Delegate Wells, House Rules.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of House Bills 1501 through 1508.
Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. The clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignments.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 43, February 14th, 2025. Refer to appropriations.
Message from the Senate, consent calendar number 5. Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the first bill and committee assignment.
Senate Bill 8, Senator Kagan, Ways and Means.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of Senate Bill 8 be considered the reading for all the bills on the calendar.
Hearing no objection, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committees. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 members present, the House is still in session. House third reading, calendar number 8. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 161, Primary and Secondary Education Comprehensive Health Education Framework established.
House Bill 161 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, what do we got going on in the state of Maryland? So we're starting off session. We're looking at down the barrel at what might be the largest tax increase in Maryland state history, because we have a $3 billion deficit. And largely that deficit is caused by education reforms that the majority party here in this chamber unilaterally pushed a few years ago. So let's see how our schools are doing. Last year in Maryland, there was a school assessment. where we found that only 48% of students scored proficient in reading. Only 24% scored proficient in math. And just last week, Fox 45 Baltimore ran an article where Baltimore City schools scored fourth worst in the nation on a national assessment. So you would naturally assume that we would be trying to tackle some of those challenges. But instead, the first bill to come to the House floor this session, first bill dealing with public education, doesn't tackle those challenges. What it does is make gender identity and sexual orientation its own standalone curriculum, teaches us the kindergartners, and then removes the opt-out for parents. And we wonder why people are moving from the state, and we wonder why homeschooling's at an all-time high. And I tell you, the debate on second reader, to me, was fascinating. I want to thank the good delegate from Carroll County over there who dropped the amendment, because it was telling. She said that 50% of parents, once afforded the opportunity to opt out of this curriculum, decided to opt out. And one I think is fascinating, that apparently only Carroll County School Board or Carroll County themselves are actually giving parents the option. Kudos to you guys. At least we have one school board in the state giving parents an option, which I think is a good thing. But it was a fascinating debate, because we learned that the only reason for this bill was to crack down on those parents that were opting out. That's the only reason for the bill, is to punish, to bring to their knee those parents that are decided to opt their children out. And we were treated to this, how can I say, sanctimonious, self-righteous speech where we demonize those same parents as being like some type of homophobes or bigots because they disagreed with the curriculum. That's wrong. Friends, let me tell you another reason why parents might be opting out of this curriculum. It comes down to two words for me: because they care and then trust. Maybe you have a parent that cares so much about their child and know their child better than anyone else in the world. Maybe they know their child so well that they don't feel they're emotionally ready to be discussing gender identity and sexual orientation with a stranger. Maybe you have a parent that loves their child so much and is more precious than anything in this world that they decided that, you know what, they're going to look after this child and protect them the best they can, both physically and emotionally. Maybe the parent is just sick and tired of the over-sexualization of our children in our society, and they simply just want to send their child to school and not have to worry about the systematic desensitization of their child with sexually explicit material. I believe we refer to that as grooming. And it paves the roadway to sexual abuse. So why would parents have this opinion? Because they don't trust what's going on. They don't trust what's going on in the government. They don't trust what's going on in the schools. Because let's face it, over the last 3 or 4 years from COVID, we have violated that trust. And if you don't take my word for it, all you have to do is look at the front page of the Baltimore Sun last week. Maryland could face billions of dollars in child sex abuse claims due to 2023 law. These are people that were once trusted by the state of Maryland that abused children. Look, I believe every person in here is a good person with deep personal convictions, and that's why we vote the same. But we shouldn't be demonizing parents just because they want to opt their child out of a particular program. That's not right. These people pay our salaries. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the parents across the state of Maryland, ones in Carroll County and the ones I represent, I'm happy to vote no to this legislation. I encourage my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Committee Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And wow, I mean, that was riddled with a lot of things that were not factual. And I'm a trained attorney, so I like to deal in facts. And so let's talk about what's actually factual. I'm not sure what debate my colleague was listening to the other day when the good lady from Carroll County brought her amendment, and we had what I thought was a respectful debate. That is not what he was listening to. First fact, non-fact that was mentioned was that Carroll County is the only jurisdiction that provides an opt-out. Every jurisdiction provides an opt-out. That is what's required. Every parent in the state of Maryland can opt out of the family life curriculum currently, should they so choose to do so. Incorrect statement number 2. We are facing a deficit caused by the blueprint. That is absolutely not factual. The blueprint is currently paid for. It is paid for, people. It is not causing our current situation. And I'm sure the Chair of Appropriations is happy to break that down to anybody who requires a deeper understanding of what's happening with our money here in the state of Maryland. Third, a recent poll came out on the blueprint. If we want to talk about the blueprint, this week a poll came out. The majority of Marylanders support the blueprint despite the financial problems that the state is facing. The majority of Marylanders, over 50%, do not want to make cuts to the blueprint. And so that is why I am not backing down from our commitment, and neither is the Chair of Appropriations, and neither are the majority of you here in this chamber today. I think I'm on my 4th mistruth. I'm losing count. The curriculum does not teach kindergartners about sex. Let's stop saying that, people. I know it makes a great headline for your constituents, but it's absolutely not true. Read it from the curriculum guidelines the other day when we're having the debate. We teach kindergartners about respect. We teach kindergartners that people are different. We teach kindergartners that not everybody has to be like us, and we can respect that. That's what we're teaching kindergartners, not about sex. The reason for this bill is not to crack down on parents. The reason for this bill is to ensure that every jurisdiction in our state is compliant with the framework that the state board created, and I want to say created with input from every jurisdiction. They all sat around, came up with the health curriculum, and this is what they agreed to. And some jurisdictions said, we're not going to follow it. We don't care. We are not going to follow it. We are going to say to certain kids in our schools that we don't care about you. We are not going to teach you. Oh, let's talk about grooming. That brings me to grooming. Grooming is when a predator preys upon a child who does not know what's right, what's wrong, who does not have a loving family. A predator preys on a child who has not been taught the appropriate gender identity and sexual orientation, who has not been taught appropriate family life. That is what grooming is over a systematic course of time. Madam Speaker, I know certain members of this body like to focus merely on the gender identity and sexual orientation, but I want to take a moment to talk about what else this bill does. This bill says we are going to teach kids about mental and emotional well-being and healthy well-being. We're going to talk about a healthy lifestyle. We're going to talk about HIV and AIDS. We are going to talk about safe and appropriate social media and the internet. So when your kids are playing video games,
talking to what they think is a 13-year-old girl and it's really some 49-year-old man in Connecticut, we're going to teach kids that. We are going to teach kids that not everything that you see online on YouTube is factual, because that is where they're getting their sex education. We are saying we are going to take trained individuals, teachers, and teach them what's medically correct. And that is why this legislation is supported by doctors, nurses, individuals who know what is scientifically correct. Because of that, Madam Speaker, and because I have a very, very strong belief as a legislator and as a mother that every child deserves to walk into a school and feel protected and feel safe and feel respected, I am urging this body to listen to what's factual and to support this legislation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Minority Leader. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm not really going to talk about the blueprint or what's factual or not, or who's a lawyer or who's not. I'm going to talk a little bit to explain why I will, for the second or maybe third time, vote against this bill. And I'll tell you something. I'm a parent. I have two children, and they're very, very different in age. I have a daughter that's 31 years old, and that she worked in the school system until this year, in the public school system as a school counselor. And it meant an awful lot to her in her job to make sure that she was providing a forum for kids to not bully other kids. She was providing an outlet for kids to learn that they are loved and that they are respected and they are cared about. I'm very proud of her, very proud of my daughter. She has a beautiful soul. I don't know where she got it from, but she has it. And I have a little 8-year-old boy who goes to the 3rd grade at Parkside Elementary School in LaVale, Maryland, where my father went, where I went. It's about half a mile from my home. And I love that little boy the way that each and every one of you in this room love your children, some of you are here today. And it would be beyond disappointing for me. It would be crushing to me if he mistreated someone or judged someone or hurt someone based upon their identity, based upon who they were, based upon who their parents were, based upon their family is different. He's unfortunately the child of divorced parents, as I was. And there's some people still as little kids who don't get that and who view that as something to make fun of or something to hurt. And I hate that. And I try, as I'm sure all the other 140 members of this body try, to teach their children to be kind. It's a very simple concept. It's a very simple concept that sometimes each of us fail at. But I think, and I trust, that over the last couple of years I've heard the words of many people pro and con about this bill through my service on the Ways and Means Committee. And I've had what, to me at least, were so impactful conversations with my friend, the sponsor of the bill who just spoke, with my friend from Frederick County that I sit next to, with my friend from Montgomery County who I think so highly of as a person. And I've had those conversations, and they have had impact, definitively, because they have had a lived experience that is really, really important to them. And I get the sense of what they want from this bill and from this curriculum, and so do I. I want it. I want a lot of the things that my friend from Howard County just talked about, of teaching children to be kind, teaching children to acknowledge differences, teaching children to be comfortable in their own skin. No one in this room should be against that. No one, ever. But I've also heard from parents, from families, who they just aren't sure about what the curriculum and what the lesson plan will look like. Whether it's for kindergartners, whether it's for 3rd graders like my son, they're just not sure. And all that they want, from the things that I've heard, the good faith, the credible actors, the people who have said, I'm opposed, I'm concerned about the bill, all they want is a chance to see in real time, this is what the lesson plan's going to be, this is what the curriculum's going to be, these are what the words are going to be, and I get to choose. If they're good, if they're something that I'm comfortable with as a parent, if they're teaching kindness, if they're teaching respect, if they're teaching that people are different and that's okay, then I sure as hell would hope that every person in the state of Maryland would say, that's a good lesson plan. Go ahead. Please teach my kid that. But there are people who say, I'm not sure exactly what the words will be and the lesson will be and the message will be, and I'd like to take a look at it. And if it doesn't work for me and my family as a parent, I'd like to hopefully respectfully be able to say, I'd like to opt my child out of that particular portion of the curriculum. I think that that's reasonable. And I think that that's the only reason for myself why I'll vote against the bill. I hope that we can get past any type of divisive rhetoric. I hope we can get past thinking that people are somehow different than each other, because a lot of people, as I look around this room, are parents. A lot of these people are impacted by these situations, and our votes and our thoughts should reflect that. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When I heard this bill, I've heard it before, but when I heard it yesterday, I noticed I was getting triggered, and I couldn't understand why. And so I whispered over to my seatmate, a good delegate from Hartford County, that I was having trouble with this bill because I grew up in a household where my parents were not present. My mother was a single mother of 6, and so she worked in DC, and we lived in North Carolina, and she traveled every weekend home to be with us, but she took her DC dollars and made a home for us down in North Carolina. What came with that, unfortunately, at 9 years old and 10 years old, was molestation. And I am able to say this now, after 52 years, that I am a sexual assault survivor. I was not able to say this before because I didn't understand. And I'm not saying this bill has given me enlightenment. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that how much my life would have changed at 8 years old, 9 years old, and 10 years old. And I know we talked about age. For those children and for myself who didn't have a parent who could explain what was right, what was wrong, what I should be proud of, how I should protect myself. That's what this bill means to me. It gives those children who may not come from a two-parent household, or who may not come from a household where the parent has the ability, the wherewithal, or the knowledge to see the signs. No fault of their own. They're making a home for their children, and they may not be able to see those signs. But I bet you if someone had told me when I was 9 years old, when I was 10 years old, when I was 8 years old, that what was happening to me was wrong, it would have made all the difference in my life. It also would have empowered me to be able to say no to the individual. Because, as we know now, victims of sexual assault tend to freeze. I chose to freeze and be a good little girl when I was 8, 9, and 10. I don't want children to have that. I don't want that to be for them. Not when we, as Marylanders, have the option to opt in to change that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Our hearts go out to you, Vice Chair. We're very sorry to hear about your life situation. I stand today to discuss this bill, House Bill 161, and age appropriateness. I have another grandma in my area that I met recently, and she told me this story about her little grandson They were out in the backyard and they caught a turtle. So grandma and grandson put the turtle in a box and they named the turtle Bob. This little boy's in kindergarten. And grandma did what all good grandmas do. They looked up on their phone to find out if turtles who they named Bob is a boy or a girl. So grandma goes to grandson and says, "Grandson, Bob is a girl turtle, and this is how we know. So let's give Bob a new name because she's a girl." And grandson looked at grandma and said, "Oh, grandma, the turtle can decide whether it wants to be a boy or girl." And grandma calls parents and says, "Holy smokes, what are you teaching grandson? He can't decide if he wants to be a boy or a girl. He's 5 years old." Those parents took their child out of that public school because it was apparent that despite their religious background, which taught traditional values, that boys are boys and girls are girls, this 5-year-old was being taught that you can choose your gender. So we look at the Montgomery County lawsuit that is now at the Supreme Court. And I think a large part that propelled the religious parents in Montgomery County to take that to all the way to the Supreme Court where it stands right now is pre-K and kindergarten education. They, in 2022, 20 new, quote, inclusivity books for pre-K through 8th grade were introduced in Montgomery County. But rather than focusing on basic civility and kindness, these books championed pride parades, gender transitioning, and pronoun preferences for children. For example, one book tasks 3 and 4-year-olds, again, 3 and 4-year-olds, to search for images from a word list that includes intersex flag, drag queen, underwear, leather, and the name of a celebrated LGBTQ activist and sex worker. So when we talk about age appropriate, that's what we're talking about, and that's why many of us are opposed to this bill. This lawsuit goes on to say that the board cannot refuse parents who want to opt their children out of instruction that violates their religious beliefs on sensitive matters. The board is unlawfully coming between parents and their kids and targeting them because of their religious beliefs about gender and sexuality. It violates the board's policies, Maryland law, and the U.S. Constitution. The Supreme Court has held that children are not wards of the state, that parents have the right to make key decisions about the education of their children on critical matters concerning family life and human sexuality. So this issue that we're discussing is at the Supreme Court, and these are the reasons why. So those of us that are opposing this are not doing it out of a place of hatred or discrimination. On the other hand, we feel like our values are being discriminated against when the public schools teach our children these things and grandchildren. Finally, Madam Speaker, I would like to bring the body to the attention of the body that 69 people signed up for House Bill 161. 45 people were against and 24 in favor, almost 2 to 1. Opposition included the state superintendents, the State Board of Education, Delmarva PTA, and even the Howard County Board of Education. There's an unsettling trend going on where some bills are being limited to sponsor only. Now we know the Senate has taken some measures to limit the number of bills you can put in, and some even gone to a 2 for and 2 against. But we are the people's house. I have had scores of people contact me about this, both for and against this bill and my bill to save girls sports, which was also limited to sponsor only. Again, people on both sides have called me and contacted me. And they've said, why are we denying parents the right to weigh in on the education of their children? I understand that bill hearings go long. HGO is in regularly now until 6 o'clock or later. And let's not get started on judiciary. I mean, they're there very late, and we thank you for your hard work. 10 o'clock. Convenience of the committee is irrelevant. Let it not be said that democracy goes to die in the Maryland House of Delegates. I think every voice should be heard, and I would like to see that policy reversed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I just want to, that's my phone, sorry. I just want to respond to some of the comments that you just heard here. I don't want to overcomplicate this issue too much. We had robust debate on this 2 years in a row. I think we heard a lot of statements 2 years in a row on the floor and in committee. So I think this issue has had quite a big hearing. So I don't want to malign the House of Delegates for the hard work that this body has already put into this topic. Second, for clarification purposes, let it say it again. The chair of the committee and the floor leader said very clearly, parents can opt out of the sex portion of the curriculum. So what is left and what's the purpose of what we are doing here? Well, I was browsing through the state code while this discussion was going on, and you might need to be reminded that in the state government article, in multiple places, we have enshrined protections for the basic dignity of a range of Maryland residents. It is on the basis of gender, ethnic background, your religion, your disability. These are things that you cannot discriminate against our residents for. And for many years, we have included sexual orientation and gender identity in this category. So the train has long since left the station if you intended to object to these people having dignity in the state of Maryland, in public accommodations, in housing, in employment, in denial of service by licensed professionals in Maryland. You cannot discriminate against people and deny the existence of people based on sexual orientation or gender identity. It is on the MSDE, the State Department of Education website, a non-discrimination statement listing the exact same categories of people, including sexual orientation and gender identity. If you look at what the bill requires, the acknowledgement of these people existing and the dignity that they deserve, it's decided by local counties what is age appropriate with the input of local community members as to exactly how that looks like. But again, you can opt out of the sex, you cannot opt out of the dignity of these individuals. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the Majority Whip.
Move the previous question, Madam Speaker.
Question for the House is the previous question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
Is the gentleman supported? Okay, roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, to explain my vote.
On the previous question?
I'm sorry.
The clerk will take the call. There being 95 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 161, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Huh? The previous question has been adopted. You got that? Okay. All right. House Bill 161 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Madam Speaker, to explain my vote.
Explain your vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I agree with the sentiments of the majority leader that all people should be treated with dignity and respect. All people, all day long, every time, no matter how they present in life. We all sometimes come up short on that, but we should do all that we can to responsibly make sure that that's happening. But there are countless examples where this policy has gone too far. There are countless examples where little boys and girls are being exposed to things that are inappropriate for them to view, offensive even for little kids. There are real examples of this in our community because this legislature is going too far, once again, with a policy. You can do this without being offensive and inappropriate to little boys and girls. So the argument to me that we want to show everybody respect, yeah, obviously. And it can be done in a manner that's respectful and appropriate without violating the conscience of regular, everyday people. This policy, as it's being implemented, violates the conscience of many parents in this community, and it can be done in a way that's respectful. This is not respectful. Parents should have the right to review what their children are being taught and have the right to opt them out on sensitive subject matter like this. Because far too many teachers in this state have a political agenda that goes too far for most people in all political walks of life. I urge the body to oppose this. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Yes. Gentlelady from Prince George's.
Thank you. In explaining my vote, thank you to my dear colleague from HGO. I'm sure this is why Grindr crashed at the RNC, but my concern is that this bill talks about, for me, what was, as a child that was an orphan by the time I was 9, that I didn't know what a period was. I thought I got cut. To me, this is, as a child of a mother who committed suicide by the time I was 4, this means that I didn't understand why I had chronic depression well into my 30s. So this is a life and death matter to me. So thank you, and I urge the body to vote aye on this legislation.
Clerk will take the call. There being 95 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 161, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 194, Consumer Protection, Retail Sales, Payment or Reimbursement of Shipping Costs.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 194, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 270, Data Center Impact Analysis and Report.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Yes, gentleman from Birmingham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to talk briefly about why I'm going to be opposing this bill. We are several billion dollars in the hole at this point, and while I believe that these data centers are really important, I used to work at a data center, I realize the amount of energy that they consume. I don't think it's the prerogative of the taxpayer to plan for private industry. We're already several billion dollars down. We don't know how to account for that, and I don't think it's the taxpayer's responsibility, so I'll be a no.
Madam Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I have great respect and support for my colleagues who will not be supporting this bill. I stand in support of this legislation. I certainly understand the fiscal responsibility question with this, and I do not disagree with my colleagues on that at all. However, we have a huge energy crisis, and I'm not going to sit here and debate the reasons why. I have some pretty strong opinions of why we're in this situation. However, if we have the ability to take a deep dive to try to unpack this and maybe prevent some future mistakes, or to make better policy out of this for every Marylander's rate that everyone's paying the price right now across the state, and we're all hearing the same thing. If this is a small measure to prevent further harm for my constituents and their rates, I'm going to support it. So I'll be staying in support of this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could the floor leader quickly rise for a question?
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I was doing some research and we connected before this. It's my understanding, for the benefit of the whole body, that we may be able to get unanimous vote on this in the green because we may have been able to find a way to resolve the budget impact entirely or nearly entirely. Can you add some context on that?
Yep, correct. And the study can be done with existing resources and will be done with existing resources, which removes the fiscal note.
Thank you. I look forward to voting green.
Okay. The minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So look, I'm obviously very conscientious of our budget situation, and we were somewhat shocked to see a fiscal note, but with the confirmation and the recorded confirmation that we think we can cover this within current resources, I'm going to be voting in favor of the bill. I live in Frederick County, District 4, and data centers in another state have caused quite the headache in my district. The fact that they're proposing a 70-mile power line straight through the heart of tens of thousands of my constituents has been a real struggle that we've had. So I think this will be a good study, and now that it's been confirmed, it can be done without additional resources. I'll be voting green. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the work of ECM to eliminate the fiscal note, but existing resources is still taxpayer money. Just want to make sure that we all understand that. Additionally, like my colleague from Frederick County, my community is covered and crisscrossed with power lines to provide energy to all of you folks. So my beautiful rural community is constantly under threat and siege because of the appalling energy policies that we have put in place in this state, where we are pulling energy from out of state constantly because we are shutting down our own energy production here. Putting a study together by the state of Maryland to essentially prove data centers are a good idea, which I have zero doubt that that's what the outcome will be, using money that is existing, AKA the taxes I paid last year, to try and ram data centers down our throat when we have really, so far, no constructive energy policy that I've seen to address the fact that we're constant importers of energy and that my community's paying with giant power lines, I think is disturbing. So I'm going to be red on this. Why don't we figure out how to turn our power plants back on and get nuclear going so we can actually be producers like we used to be?
Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To be clear, if you had heard the debate we had on second read about this bill, I don't think anybody in the House or in the ECM overly trusts these data centers. The goal is not to have that, which is why we didn't allow them to fund their own study, which is why we are going to use our resources to make sure, like you've heard from the good delegate from Frederick, that our communities are not being devastated by these data centers because there's a lot of wishful thinking going on. And a lot of our local electeds are being fooled into thinking that somehow these taxes are going to come raining in and there's no cost. What we want to make sure is that every cost is analyzed and the impact is analyzed. That's why we're doing this. It's not because we want them to come. It's because we want to make sure if they come doing it the right way. So this is not about wasting resources. This is protecting our state. It's very important. So I want to make sure we understood there is no misgiving here. Nobody's here is under some blind understanding that this is the golden calf. This is going to save us all. This is not a golden goose. That's what we're here to do the research for. That's why we're here to do the work. And part of our work here is to protect our citizens. We have found a way, as you've heard from my vice chair, to make this cost neutral. And it's not a waste of resources to have these people actually look into this, create a study, and do the job that they get paid to do. So for all those reasons, I will be supporting this bill. Thank you.
Madam Speaker. Gentlelady from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would just like to echo my seatmates' concerns and feelings on this matter. We had a hearing in District 4 when the situation with the power lines was coming to a forefront, and it was 4 to 5 hours, and many of our constituents did not trust a lot of the data that was being presented to them from the data center. So I do appreciate the chair of the committee's thoughtful look at how to do this from a more independent perspective, and I believe my constituents will as well.
Gentleman from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Everybody who just spoke on this issue, I agree with. Much like our friends from Frederick County and Baltimore County, this issue has been the #1 issue for my constituents in Carroll County. Power line goes through northern Baltimore County, goes through Frederick County, but in Carroll County it's stretching from east to west, the entire length of Carroll County. And there's no issue that has been more front and center than this one. Since June, this has essentially consumed most of our lives up in Carroll County. And I appreciate the vice chairman of ECM. I appreciate the chairman for bringing this bill forth. It's a first. It's a first small step to, I hope, will be bring forth many changes that will come through this body. And we really have to reevaluate how we look at energy in this state, because we are in a bad state at the moment. And as a result, we have this power line coming through 3 counties. And so I appreciate that this bill is coming forth, and I hope that we see a lot more positive change after this one. So with that, I encourage my colleagues here to vote for this bill. Thank you.
The other gentleman from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today because as a former Carroll County Commissioner, I am well aware that the #1 industry in our county is agriculture. And we have taken great pride into preserving our ag land since 1980. Carroll County is the #1 preserver of agricultural land in the state of Maryland, and we're number 10 in the nation. When this proposal came out to put these power lines through our county, I was faced with a lot of scared constituents and apprehension that farming is their way of life. It's been in their family for generations. And when they hear that eminent domain will take those family farms away from them, this is their livelihood. They are scared. And it is my responsibility and the responsibility of my delegation to stand up and fight to help them preserve their way of life. Therefore, I'm in support of this bill to make sure that we do this right. The worst thing we can do is to do this wrong and damage our citizens and their livelihood. And I'll close with, God bless you all. Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay. Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does
Madam Speaker.
anyone care to change it in your?
I'd like to
Why are
explain
you,
my vote if I could, please.
Didn't you do that already?
No. Nope. I tried.
All right.
Thank you,
All
Madam
right,
Speaker.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Some days I wish I had the magic wand that we seem to wield often in this chamber. It was pointed out that we didn't want industry to be driving this study, but the only amendment accepted on this bill added industry to the bill. It was said that we had this physical note, and all of a sudden, at the last moment on the House floor here, the physical note disappears completely. So I think we should plan for this kind of thing, but I don't think we are keeping in perspective what we're doing at all. Do you realize that Maryland gives data centers a tax incentive to come here? The Maryland Department of Commerce announced that today is now accepting applications for the Data Center Maryland Sales and Use Tax Exemption Incentive Program. So we're giving data centers, and we have been for years, incentives to come here when evidently we don't even know if we supply the power necessary to facilitate that growth. What are we even doing here? I don't think folks really understand what's going on in this bill. I'm not convinced at all that we're not increasing the physical impact of the state. I don't think that we should be using current taxpayer resources for this, considering the massive budget deficit, and that's why I'll be a no today.
Okay. Clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 270, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 273, residential leases, late payment penalties, calculation.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 122 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 273, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Vote change. HB 194 in the green. Thank you.
Any other vote changes? Okay. All right. That ends the work at the desk. Committee announcements, appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Appropriations Committee will vote immediately after session. Thank you.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House Judiciary Committee will not be meeting today.
Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Environment and Transportation Committee will vote 10 minutes after floor, then we'll take a short break, have a briefing from the Department of Natural Resources, and then have a lovely afternoon of bill hearings. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will not be meeting today.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Economic Matters Committee will not be meeting, but please, colleagues, pay attention that on Monday at 1 p.m. we will be holding our alcohol, beverage, and licensing hearings. So if your committee or your county has a bill, please be there at 1 p.m. on Monday. Thank you.
Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health and Government Operations Committee will be meeting at noon for a voting session, at 1 p.m. for briefings. Noon for a voting session, 1 p.m. for briefings. Thank you.
Any subcommittee announcements? Subcommittee announcements. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Appropriations Subcommittee on Health and Social Services will be meeting on Monday at 1 p.m. in the Prince George's County Delegation Room for budget hearings. Thank you.
Johnny from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Transportation and Environment Subcommittee of Appropriations will be meeting at 1 p.m. on Monday, followed by a brief voting session.
Gentlemen, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Appropriation.
The Capital Budget Subcommittee of Appropriations will meet on Monday at 3 p.m. in the Appropriations Committee room.
Any others? None? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Criminal Law Subcommittee will be meeting Monday at 2 p.m. on Zoom.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Public Safety Subcommittee will be meeting Monday at 4 p.m. via Zoom.
Any other subcommittee announcements? Okay. Any delegation announcements? Vice Chair, Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm wearing my co-chair hat of ethics today. The Ethics Committee will be meeting on Monday, February 17th at 1 o'clock in the new DLS building, and I can give you the room number if you need it, and just email me. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Any delegation announcements? Yes. Carol, okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Since we had so much talk about Carroll County, we decided we're going to have our district night on this Monday, and everyone is invited to District 5 night, 5:30 over in the Senate office building. So everybody can stop on by District 5, 5:30. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sure. Any other delegation announcement? General Lady from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I just want you to be aware that next Thursday, February 20th, the Maryland Dermatologic Society will be doing its skin cancer screening. It will be over in the Treasury Building, the Assembly Room. All are invited, staff, members, from 10:30 to 1:30, so bring your skin. And we'll be happy to find a little privacy to do a little exam. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
See anybody else? Any caucus announcements? Caucus announcements. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Fire and EMS Coalition will be meeting Monday at 3 p.m. in the Senate, second floor. Monday, 3 p.m., Fire EMS Coalition. If you have bills regarding fire EMS, you're going to want to be there. Thank you.
Okay. Any other caucus announcements? Nope. Okay. Any personal or guest announcements? Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Colleagues, on behalf of the District 20 team, me, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, and Laura Charkoudian, we have a very special constituent with us here in the audience. Josh Kurtz, the founding editor of Maryland Matters, is retiring from service after 3 decades of keeping us honest. Please give him a round of applause.
Trying to figure out because you all popped up at the same time. Go ahead, young lady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegate's name.
Permission granted.
I would like to thank my friend and seatmate, Delegate Harris, for the roses that he gave all the women of this chamber. Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Yes, who? Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I get to my announcement, I do have a vote change. House Bill 273 to nay. Thank you. So, folks, it's Tourism Day in Annapolis. The Maryland Tourism Coalition wants to show you some love today with an amazing lunch at Ram's Head. The lunch started at 11:45, so right after we're done on the floor, they'd love to see you. Thank you.
Go ahead. Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, I just want, hello, good morning, colleagues. Happy Valentine's Day. Today, we are joined by my deputy delegate today, my daughter, Amara, who is 4 years old. So if everyone can welcome Amara on the floor today. Her first time on the floor during session. Yeah. She did an excellent job. Also, we're also joined in the gallery by my father-in-law, the newest addition to our family, Ziora, and my love of my life, my forever Valentine, my wife, up in the gallery. Thank you, Madam.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, go ahead.
I too am joined today by my deputy delegate. Stand up. She's a little too shy to stand up. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for taking a picture for both little girls earlier. She is off from no school today, and this is AJ. AJ, you want to? Okay, she's hiding under the desk, but Madam Speaker, one more thing. My daughter likes to tell people that she's 5.5, and her special day is May 20th. And you know, our colleagues in this chamber that have birthdays out of session are always disappointed. So I want to say, permission to use delegates' names?
Permission granted.
That to Delegate Stephanie Smith and Delegate Eric Ebersole, who share her birthday, that they too get an applause right now. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, one of our amazing members in this chamber has double the reason to celebrate today, double the reason to smile, and double the reason to get lots of love today on Valentine's Day and her birthday. Madam Speaker, permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
On behalf of the District 20 team, please join me in saying happy birthday to Delegate Lori Charkoudian.
Madam Speaker?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegates' names?
Permission granted.
Thank you. On behalf of Delegate Congolo, Delegate Chisholm, and I want to welcome Caitlin Bain, who's a student at UMBC, and she's here shadowing us today. Welcome. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, please join me today in wishing a happy Valentine's Day to my Valentine, the former mayor of Rock Hall. Up in the gallery.
Any other? What, you're getting up and you're getting down. Now, which one is it? Prince George's, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, one more reminder about the blood drive. There is a little bit of a change. We'll be starting at 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, the 19th, instead of 8:30. So we have sent out flyers so everybody can see, and they're being scattered around the various buildings so you can be reminded. I want to just take a second to ask you to do a couple things for Wednesday. That day, be sure you wear a sleeve that you can roll up, or a short sleeve, so that you can open a vein. And also, one of the things that might disappoint you if you don't have enough iron in your blood. So have a really good, healthy weekend and bulk up your iron so that by Wednesday you'll be able to give blood. Thank you so much.
Okay. Delegate for Anne Arundel, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was just made aware of something. Permission to use delegate's name?
Permission granted.
I want to wish a happy 23rd to a wonderful couple, my newest seatmate, and a man that was smart enough to marry a woman on Valentine's Day to knock out 2 gifts at once. Congratulations to Latoya Kangola and her amazing husband.
John Lady from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Apologize for double dipping on the announcements today, but may I permission to use the delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Thank you. Colleagues, I just want to draw your attention and ask you to please give warm wishes to my wonderful seatmate on behalf of Delegate Jared Solomon and I to Delegate Aaron Kaufman. It is his birthday tomorrow, and we love him dearly. Thank you.
Gentlelady from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to inform the body that a member who walked these halls from 1995 to 2019, who I affectionately dubbed my uncle, even though he was not my biological uncle, but I had known him since elementary school, a very dear family friend, the former vice chair of Ways and Schemes, as he used to like to say. Former delegate Frank Turner passed away after some health challenges at 2:15 this morning. So I just wanted to inform the body, and I'll have more information once I get that from his family. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Okay, all righty. Recognizing the protocol chair. It's Friday.
It's Friday. Come on down, you sunshines. Come on. Oh, what a good day we've had. Okay. Look at them smiles on them faces, y'all. Didn't they do a good job? Let's clap for these sunshines this week. It was rough, but it's okay. But I'm just going to do one little different thing today because I had a request. Our first runner-up, I'll call him, her. She wants to be known as Miss Rocky. Miss Rocky from Prince George's County, District 23, Bowie High School. Come on down. There, Roxy. That's my girl. Okay, next one up. Ngoma Kashika Caillou, Baltimore County, District 10, Western School and Technology and Environmental Science. All right, we ready? Number 3, Rebecca Eggy, Frederick County, District 3, Governor Thomas Johnson High School. A.B. Hatram Gadam, Wacomico County, District 37A, Parkside High School. I keep messing that up, but I got it now. Okay, the next one up, Roscoe Grader, Howard County, District 9B, Wild Lake High School. Beverly Pendela, Baltimore County, District 44A, Lansdowne High School. Giselle Tremino Reyes, Charles County, District 28, Westlake High School. And finally, the one is so sweet. He's been waiting on y'all, is Max Van Doren, Anne Arundel County, District 33B, homeschool student. All right, you sunshines, I got through it, but that's okay. It was from my heart. And I want to thank you, and the speaker want to thank you, and all the delegates want to thank you for a wonderful week you have given us, and hope that you come back another week with us. All right, you sunshines, you can be dismissed. And one more message, Madam Speaker. Okay. I'm Delegate Turner, your protocol chair. I don't want nobody to forget that. But don't forget to come to me to room 205. Thank you. And you know why.
Okay. All right. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will take the call. There being 133 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stands adjourned until Monday, February 17th at 8 p.m., followed by a moment of silence for former Delegate Frank Turner.